Off the coast of Brazil, hidden beneath the waters of Guanabara Bay, lies a mystery that could rewrite history as we know it. In 1982, divers claimed to have discovered something no one expected to find in South America: Roman amphoras. These ancient storage vessels, typically used by the Romans to transport goods like wine and olive oil, were found in a location where they had no reason to exist. How did these artifacts, associated with an empire that existed thousands of miles away, end up in the waters of Brazil? And could they prove that Roman ships reached the Americas over 1,000 years before Columbus? The discovery was both groundbreaking and controversial. Amphoras, large clay jars with narrow necks and pointed bottoms, were a hallmark of Roman trade. Their design is unmistakable, simple, efficient, and found across the Mediterranean. But finding them in Brazil was completely unexpected. The divers who made the discovery described seeing 6 intact amphoras on the ocean floor. According to their reports, the amphoras appeared to date back to the 2nd or 3rd century CE, a time when the Roman Empire was at its peak. If these artifacts were authentic, they would represent a stunning piece of evidence that ancient Europeans may have crossed the Atlantic long before the Portuguese arrived in Brazil in the 1500s. But almost as quickly as the discovery was made, efforts to explore the site were halted. Brazil's military government at the time closed off the area, and further diving expeditions were banned. Why? Officially, authorities cited the need to protect the site, but skeptics argue that the decision created more questions than answers. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that the exact location of the amphoras has never been publicly revealed. To this day, no one outside of the initial team has seen the artifacts in person, and no further evidence has been uncovered. So what happened to the amphoras? Were they lost, hidden, or were they never there to begin with? Theories surrounding the Guanabara Bay amphoras range from plausible to outright bizarre. Some experts believe the amphoras were transported to Brazil aboard a Roman ship blown off course by strong Atlantic currents. While Romans rarely ventured beyond the Mediterranean, there are records of their trade routes extending as far as India and Africa. Could one of these trade vessels have been swept across the ocean to South America? Others suggest a less accidental explanation. Ancient explorers, motivated by curiosity or necessity, may have deliberately sailed west, long before the Americas were officially discovered. Proponents of this theory argue that ancient seafarers were far more advanced than we give them credit for. But if the Romans did reach Brazil, why is there no other evidence of their presence? And then there's a more skeptical view, that the amphoras weren't Roman at all. Critics of the discovery have suggested that the jars may have been planted as part of a hoax or brought to the area centuries later by European colonists. Without the ability to study the artifacts directly, it's impossible to know for sure. But what if the amphoras were genuine? What if they're sitting at the bottom of Guanabara Bay right now, waiting to be rediscovered? If authentic, they would challenge everything we know about transoceanic contact in the ancient world. It would mean that the Romans, or someone else using Roman technology, crossed the Atlantic over 1,000 years before Columbus set foot in the Americas. The implications of such a discovery would be staggering. It would suggest that the Americas were not as isolated as history books have taught us, that ancient civilizations, separated by thousands of miles, may have had contact in ways we can only begin to imagine. But as it stands, the mystery of the Guanabara Bay amphoras remains unresolved. The Brazilian government has shown little interest in reopening the site for investigation. And without physical evidence to study, the amphoras exist more as a tantalizing story than a proven fact. What we're left with is a puzzle, one that sits at the intersection of history, legend, and the unknown. Were these artifacts evidence of early European contact with South America, or were they simply misplaced, misunderstood, or even fabricated? Until new evidence emerges, the waters of Guanabara Bay will continue to guard their secrets. Could there be more artifacts lying undiscovered beneath the waves? And if so, what other stories could they tell us about our ancient past? The mystery of the Guanabara Bay amphoras is a reminder that history is never as simple or as settled as we think. What do you believe? Did the Romans really cross the Atlantic? Or is this a story that's been blown out of proportion? Share your thoughts and join us next time as we uncover more of history's most fascinating mysteries.